South London, a family sits awake long after dark, waiting for someone to come home.
The house is silent until something appears.
For years, nobody can explain it. Not the children, not their parents, not the neighbours.
Then one day, something hidden inside the house is uncovered, and everything changes.
But that's not the only strange story connected to our family. Because decades later, a group of young friends gather around a Ouija board.
At first, it's just a bit of fun. A laugh, a game.
Until a question is asked and an answer arrives.
An answer that appears to come true almost immediately.
2 stories, passed down through generations of the same family.
One involving a mysterious visitor, and the other a coincidence so unsettling that nobody present ever forgot it.
And both shared with us by our auntie.
This is a ghost story.
Welcome to This is a Ghost Story. I'm Kathryn.
And I'm Alison.
And I'm producer Andrew. And together we'll be sharing strange experiences, paranormal encounters and mysteries from both close to home and around the world.
This week's episode is particularly special because the stories come directly from our family.
They were shared with us by our auntie, who is our late dad's sister.
Our dad featured in episode 1, the Cyprus story.
And while we were discussing old family memories, our auntie Lynn reminded us of 2 paranormal stories that had been passed down through the family.
One dates back to pre-war South London.
The other involves our dad and a Ouija board. So brace yourselves.
This is a ghost story.
Story 1. The Southwark Priest.
To understand this story, we need to travel back almost a century. Long before our family moved to the home counties. Long before our dad was born. Back to Southwark in South London.
According to our auntie, the story was told to her by her mother Elsie, our grandmother.
The family lived close to a nunnery in Southwark, London. Their house backed onto church property, and during the late evenings, something very strange began happening.
Great-grandma Alice and her children would often stay awake waiting for our great-granddad Gilbert to return home from work. He worked as a compositor in the printing trade.
Most nights, close to midnight, a figure would appear. Not outside, not at a window. Inside the house itself.
A priest, dressed in clerical clothing, walking silently through the kitchen and through the walls.
No one knew who he was or why he appeared. But the sightings became so common that family members began expecting him.
The children were terrified. Imagine sitting in your own kitchen and watching a man emerge through solid brickwork, then disappear again.
Time passed. Then builders arrived to carry out work on the property. At one point, Grandma Elsie was taken into another room while the work was completed.
From behind the closed door, she suddenly heard something extraordinary. The sound of a wall being broken open, followed by what sounded like hundreds of coins hitting the floor.
When the builders investigated further, they discovered a hidden cache of money concealed within the wall. According to family, it is believed that it may have been church funds hidden many years earlier.
And after the money was discovered, the priest was never seen again.
Had he been guarding hidden treasure? Was there some forgotten history connecting the property to the church next door? Or was it simply coincidence?
The family never found out, but the story became one that was passed down through the generations.
This is a ghost story.
Oh, I love stories like this because they're like classic hauntings. You know, not aggressive, not frightening in the modern horror sense, just strange, eerie.
Yeah, it's almost like the priest had a purpose.
Mm.
Once the coins were found, then his purpose was gone. The sightings stopped.
And I think that is what makes it stick. It's the fact that, you know, they saw that priest figure, you know, again and again and again. It was like a repeating pattern. And, you know, if he had continued to appear afterwards, you could say it was all coincidence, you know, but according to the family accounts, that was the end of the sightings. But however, the builders, having allegedly taken the money soon after, they went bust. You know, is that bad luck? Coincidence? You decide.
Yeah, that is interesting. Do you know the frequency of the apparition by any chance?
I think it was most nights.
I think
when
it
they
was like
when they
nightly.
were sitting up late. Yeah, I think it was a lot of the time,
And
more often than not.
And all of them could see it.
Yeah, you know, our great grandma, and then obviously her children, our grandma and sisters.
Interesting, because like if that was, I know it was pre-war London. It was obviously times were a bit different. Nobody has camera phones in their pockets. But I think you probably would set up a camera, wouldn't you, if it was happening every night? Or
In this day and age, you would, yeah.
I know times were different then. But
Where would you get the money from for a camera to record
no, that is true.
this?
But well, not record. I'm thinking like capture picture.
Yeah, but by the time you set it up and the frame's taken it, which would have been a couple of minutes.
Oh yeah, because they
They're
would make
gone.
people they'd have to be still for a certain period of time.
Hadn't they improved by then? By the 20s, they got better. They weren't all like the Victorian cameras where the big glass plates. I know there probably was still some in use, but weren't they better? Any camera experts, please
Yeah,
Yeah.
let us know. Because I know
Because we're going to fight about this.
there's a person on Instagram that is going to football games at the minute with really retro cameras and putting the old film in and taking the photographs. So
that's
it's
quite
weird
cool.
seeing all the new sponsors and adverts, but it looks like an old photograph. It's really, it's quite good
wow.
actually. But it just got me thinking there, because I'd be like, especially that day and age, I'd have
Yeah.
been like, this could make me money. You know,
I
if you've
think,
got a ghost.
I mean, they were probably just totally fearful. I don't think they'd be thinking anything else but, oh my gosh, here he comes again.
Yeah, and so it sounds like at the time it was Alice and the kids that were all waiting. So obviously, do you think that when they were waiting for Gilbert to come back, do you think they ever told him about this? Do you think?
Oh,
Because it
that's a
almost
really
feels to me like they maybe
good
didn't.
question.
And maybe that's part of it. Maybe. Because I know obviously it's very difficult to get this type of information now, due to this being passed down, and you know,
Yeah.
unless we've got a Ouija board.
Yeah, they're
to
all
work
gone.
out. Yeah.
Or a long phone line.
Yeah. So maybe, because I know things were treated a bit differently back then, weren't they? So things were looked at a little bit differently. So maybe, you know, they just kind of accepted it. And maybe they didn't tell him when he was coming back, because maybe it would have freaked him out.
Well, we might be able to find out from
Yeah.
Auntie Lynn. We can always ask her, see if she knows anything further.
Because that'd be good to kind of
Yeah.
to look into more, because there's not many accounts really you ever hear of coming back maybe every night. You hear of things like you know, horse-drawn carriage ghosts that are appearing on Christmas Eve on certain places and things like that, and some folklore things, but never the same kind of apparition every night. But then
Yeah.
it's maybe he wanted to protect the coins, if they were coins, because it wasn't confirmed.
I think he was still performing a task, like performing his duty almost.
Maybe he was pointing out where they were.
Or
Maybe.
that, yeah. Maybe he was like, guys, here's some hidden money.
Could be.
I can't use it.
So before we move on to the second story, let's take a closer look at the first then. So stories involving ghosts guarding hidden treasure appear throughout British folklore. Many feature monks, priests, or other religious figures seemingly connected to valuables concealed long ago. In some legends, the apparition continues to appear until the hidden object is discovered. Then, just as suddenly as the sightings began, they stop. There are reports of phantom monks guarding buried valuables in Yorkshire. There are ghostly stories involving priests connected to a church property in Cornwall, and accounts from Scotland involving hidden caches of coins supposedly protected by spectral figures. Whether these stories originated from genuine experiences or simply became attached to unusual discoveries is impossible to know. What's fascinating about your family's account is the detail that the priest was reportedly seen over a number of years. Then builders allegedly discovered a hidden cache of coins within the wall. And according to the family story, the priest never appeared again. So, as we were saying there, could these two events be connected, or could it just be coincidence, that part of it? Whatever the answer, it's easy to understand why the story remained part of family folklore for generations. Very interesting though, eh, ladies?
I couldn't believe it when Auntie Lynn gave us this story. I was like, what? How have we never heard this before? Fantastic.
Had you not?
No, I'd never heard it. I know you were more...
Yeah, I knew about it.
Yeah. No.
Can I just say before we move on to our second story, your family is spooky as anything, all right? All these stories.
Thank you.
All these stories. Yeah, you're blooming hell. You'd have all been done at witch trials back a few hundred years ago, all these stories.
Yep.
Yes, spooky
Probably.
families.
And I'm sure there's more to come, to be honest. So, yeah, literally, there'll be more.
This is a ghost story.
Story 2, the Ouija board.
Our second story takes place much later, probably around the mid-1960s.
By this time, the family were living in Houghton Regis, a newer estate born out of the London overspill. Due to Grandad John spending a year commuting to a car manufacturer called Comma Cars in Luton, the council finally gave our grandparents a council house on Blackthorn Road. A few years on, and our dad was around 15 years of age.
One evening, he invited several friends around. Someone had bought a Ouija board.
The group gathered in the kitchen. Our grandparents were present, as were several of Dad's friends, including a local woman named Betty.
As the evening drew to a close, Betty asked the board a question. Her husband was currently a patient at Fairfield Psychiatric Hospital, and she wanted to know when he might come home.
According to Auntie Lynn's account, the board appeared to spell out a message. The board answered, and it spelled out, "He is on his way home."
Betty was reportedly disturbed by the answer and quickly left the house. But what happened next would frighten everyone present.
As our dad and Grandad John walked his friends to the door, he looked outside. Standing there on the path across the road was Betty's husband, staring directly at the house.
Nobody knew how long he'd been there, or how he'd arrived.
The sight shocked the group so much that they hurried away. One friend was so frightened he knocked over his Lambretta scooter. Rather than stopping to pick it up properly, he simply grabbed it and ran.
Meanwhile, Dad and Grandad went back inside and contacted the police. By the time officers arrived, the man had reached Betty's door. He was reportedly banging on the door, trying to get in.
The police eventually restrained him and returned him to Fairfield. It later emerged that he'd simply walked out and somehow made the journey home on foot.
But for those who witnessed it, the timing was impossible to ignore. A Ouija board session predicts he's on his way home. Moments later, there he is, watching the house.
This is a ghost story.
Now this is where opinions divide.
Absolutely. Was it paranormal or an extraordinary coincidence?
The sceptical explanation is that he'd already left Fairfield and nobody knew.
But imagine being in that kitchen, hearing the board spell out that message and then opening the door to find him standing there. Ugh,
Oh,
hideous.
whether supernatural or not, it's certainly enough to ensure nobody wanted to use a Ouija board again.
I will put my hand up to that. According to Auntie Lynn, that was the last time Dad's friends ever came to the house.
I blooming bet.
Can't blame them. Yeah.
Hell no.
Quickest exit ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. What an incredible story. That is something out of the horror film annals, isn't it? That is, you know, people gathered round a table, thunder, lightning cracking outside, and then you're seeing somebody standing there very Michael Myers-esque that said he's outside. Oh, my
That's exactly
goodness.
how I imagined it when it was told to me, to be honest.
that
Yeah,
is-
Michael Myers style. You've hit the nail on the head.
Utterly unbelievable. So let's have a little look at this then. So Ouija boards remain one of the most controversial tools in paranormal research. Although many people assume they're ancient, the modern Ouija board actually dates back to the late 19th century and became hugely popular during the spiritualist movement. Believers claim the board can reveal information beyond the knowledge of those taking part, sometimes even predicting future events. Skeptics, however, point to something known as the ideomotor effect. This is where tiny unconscious muscle movements guide the pointer without participants realizing they're doing it. Scientific studies have shown that people can move the planchette while genuinely believing they're not responsible. Yet stories like the one we've heard tonight continue to fuel debate. In Kathryn and Alison's family account, the board allegedly stated that Betty's husband was already on his way home from Fairfield Hospital. Moments later, he appears outside. The most likely explanation is that he had already left the hospital and nobody present knew. However, after some further research, it turns out that he escaped by holding a knife to a nurse's neck. For those gathered around the kitchen table, the timing must have felt extraordinary. Coincidence, subconscious knowledge, or something stranger? As always, we'll leave that decision to you. So now a little bit about Fairfield Hospital. It wasn't just a hospital. Originally known as the Three Counties Asylum, it was one of the largest psychiatric institutions in England. At its height, it housed over 1,000 patients and occupied hundreds of acres of Bedfordshire countryside. It even had its own railway station, farm and chapel. So when Betty's husband reportedly appeared outside the house after the Ouija board claimed he was on his way home, we're not talking about somebody walking from the next street. We're talking about a man who apparently made a significant journey after leaving one of the region's largest psychiatric hospitals. 19.2 miles on the most direct route via road. That's a long way. Do you ladies have any more information on how he got there?
Definitely no information, but I can only guess he like hitchhiked his way back, because back in those days, I think it was just the dumb thing. People just grabbed lifts, didn't they?
Yeah.
Picked people up and gave them a helping hand home.
Yeah, stick your thumb out, stick an ankle out. Some poor person will pick you up.
So it does appear that he actually did. He had a knife, managed to get out that way.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I only found that out quite recently. Obviously, you know, this is all passed down. So
Yeah, so it's word of mouth.
we weren't there, yeah. But oh gosh, that is so scary. Still, Michael Myers. Yep.
So the important thing here is, and a key part of this is, he's managed to escape by holding a knife to a nurse's neck. So that would say to me that the authorities would have been alerted very quickly. And I think that the local authorities to that asylum would know and have a protocol in place for somebody escaping. So it's still amazing that he managed to travel just under 20 miles back to Houghton Regis to the house and be waiting outside and hadn't been apprehended at that point.
But what's to say he's apparently got a knife. So what's to say he hasn't flagged the car down, got in with the knife?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I guess
said,
that is possible.
Houghton Regis, please.
Yeah,
No fair.
I don't think you're going to argue.
Yeah, I'm not paying my
It's a
fare.
bit out my way. I was only going around the corner, but yep, you make a good case.
Yeah.
I'll get you there. Don't you worry. Yeah, because that's the thing. I guess the police, I guess it depends how quickly this happened and how quickly he may have got into a car. But if he has got into a car, then I guess
Or
maybe...
did he steal a car? Who knows? He
Well,
might have stolen a car.
I guess that's possible. Obviously, we don't know what type of person he was.
Yeah.
You know,
We're
the
only-
reasons
this is
he was in
guesswork.
there. Yeah, exactly. But it's still fascinating, isn't it? You look at this and you're thinking of how did he get there? Now, it does beg the question about how paranormal this is. It does seem extremely paranormal. Could he have been transported there somehow?
No, I genuinely think this is definitely paranormal. You know, I don't know how it all works, but yeah, paranormal, that's my vote on this one for sure.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think that you would have to have had somebody in that room know that he's escaped. Now, the only thing that there could be is maybe somebody heard on the radio that there's been an escapee from Fairfield.
But then wouldn't you have the police waiting for him at home?
That's a very good
That is a
question
good
as well.
point.
That is a very good question, because that would be the place you're thinking he's going to go back to. But you
Yeah.
never know. There could have been somebody heard it maybe on the radio. Maybe they didn't tell her because they didn't want to upset her.
Yeah.
And then maybe somebody... But then would you play a joke? You wouldn't if you've done that to not upset somebody.
I mean, if it was me, I would be warning her and saying, right, this has happened, he's out.
Well, they wouldn't probably maybe at that point say who it is, but they probably would because they want you to find them. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
you maybe might be right, yeah.
I'd be like, look, stay here, you know, because you can't go back home, because that's where he's going to go, you know, essentially.
Because to get 20 miles, you are looking at maybe, a 25-minute drive? I guess it depends how quick it is. And it would rely on him getting in a car straight away
Yeah.
and going. But
Either way.
fascinating.
It
I love
is.
that story. I think that's absolutely fascinating. And of course, your dad there in the room and his
As a
mates never
youngster.
came back ever
Yeah,
again.
but they were like, no thanks, your spooky house.
Yeah, I'm starting to get this feeling with you two now as well. Yes, spooky woman. But yeah, there we go. Another fascinating story.
I was going to say, I don't think that was the last Ouija board he ever did either.
Oh, I definitely know it wasn't the last one he did. But however, he always told us not to touch, never touch a Ouija board. And I've stuck to it.
I have not.
Yeah, I haven't. I think because Kathryn kind of really
I'm like,
scared me
no,
off
Dad
of it.
said no, just don't. I'm respecting Dad's wishes.
But yeah,
and
you did a Ouija board, didn't you, at Emma from Ghostly Gatherings, Buckingham Arms investigation.
I did, yes.
Big shout out to Emma, and we are going to have her on one of our video pods again very soon. We're going to be talking about some of her cases that she's, some of the investigations she's been at, and we've got some other things coming up as well, including a documentary on UFOs that I can't wait to do. So do keep an eye out for all that.
Next time on This is a Ghost Story.
Christmas should be a time of warmth, family, and feeling safe. But for listener Shane, one festive season became something he'll never forget. A strange presence, an empty house, and a night that still haunts him to this day. Was he really alone, or had something else moved in for Christmas? That's next time on This is a Ghost Story, episode 13, The House Sitter.
Thank you for listening to another episode of This is a Ghost Story.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are absolutely everywhere now. We are now on YouTube. So just search This Is a Ghost Story, all one word, to find us on there.
so we are on Twitter or X at a Ghost Story Pod.
We're on Facebook. This is a Ghost Story.
And Instagram, This Is a Ghost Story, all one word.
Or you can find us on TikTok at this.is.a.ghost.story.
Please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And remember, if you have a paranormal experience that you would like us to read on the show,
please email us at thisisaghoststory@icloud.com.
we'll see you next time.
This is a ghost story. Sweet dream.
The skeptical explanation. The skeptical I can't say it. I'll have to go home.
Yeah, stories like the one we've heard tonight continue.
Oh God.